Thank you everyone for taking time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with a Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. Lastly, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have a 32-year-old GMC SUV selling for just over $250,000, which is quite a pretty penny. Now this comes with thanks to Nico, who's a writer at thedrive.com. He says, quote, 32-year-old truck sells for $226,000. I thought we were done with this. A 1993 GMC Typhoon with 688 miles were sold for an astronomical amount on Bring a Trailer, bucking the trend of collector car pricing coming down, which, I mean, it does look, as I was about to say the youth, as my grandpa would say, cherry. I mean, it's a nice red GMC Typhoon. It says truck with, SUV. It looks really nice. I don't know about $250,000. That's quite a pretty penny to say the least. That's a house in Iowa or a shed in DFW. Now, it looks like there's some more pictures of it as well here. Now he says, quote, I'm rarely surprised by car auction results these days, but this one did it. There was a time when everything on Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids during the pandemic was absolutely nuts, and it felt like even pedestrian cars were breaking auction records every week. However, in the last year or two, the pricing started to go down and they began normalizing. Then someone goes and drops $226,000 on a 1993 GMC Typhoon. Can't we be done with this? This author sounds disappointed. I mean, it's all granted, it's a special edition, I know that, but it's really because of the low miles, obviously. It's a collector, it's basically museum grade quality. I would assume the interior is also spotless. I mean, it just looked immaculate. I almost feel like Harrison Ford saying, it belongs in a museum. His voice is better than mine, obviously. The attempt was made, fell, but attempt was made. He said, let's try to figure out why someone would spend Porsche 911 GT3 money on a 32-year-old SUV. Because, different strokes, different folks. I would never buy a minivan. Ever. Yeah, I know some people spend $56,000 on a minivan. I find it abhorrent myself. But, I would never. Different folks. He says, for starters, it's pretty rare. GMC only made 4,697 Typhoons during the 2-year run, and just 345 of those were apple red. Which, once you start getting into those details, I automatically hear, my Corvette's best Corvette, which Corvettes are pretty cool, but that is a cliche stereotype. Now, they also say this specific example also only had 668 miles on it, making it minty fresh, and collectors are always willing to pay a premium for classics with triple-digit odometer readouts. Lastly, the Typhoon has quite a loyal following, as it was the first real American performance SUV, and at the time was one of the quickest vehicles on the market. Which, again, all these pictures look amazing. And it's a coupe, too. That's hilarious. Coupe SUV, even more rare. They said the Typhoon was basically an SUV version of the GMC Cyclone pickup truck, packing the same 4.3-liter turbocharged V6 that made 280 horsepower and 350 foot-pound of torque. But it made more sense in SUV form, because who needs to haul that much ass and haul lumber from Home Depot? A couple of us do. All that power fed through a four-speed automatic transmission to do all four wheels, helped it reach 60 miles per hour in 5.3 seconds back in the day, which very impressive for that time period. That made it quicker than a Ferrari 348 TS. That's awesome. The Typhoon also ran a quarter mile in 14.1 seconds, which nipped the Acura NSX heels back when it was still impressive. That's awesome. It did all of that on a body-on-frame SUV with a sticker price of $29,530, or less than half of the Ferrari cost. Which, it says, it even had self-leveling rear suspension in 1993, which, again, that's pretty good. Now I'm curious. Let's look at the inflation calculator here. This might be a rare instance where this person actually beat the S&P 500 and inflation on a vehicle, which never happens. So let's pull up the inflation calculator right here. So 1993 is, let's round up to $30,000. All right, well, if I can type, that usually helps. $30,000, 1993, be about $67,128.05 today. So they definitely beat inflation on this. Now the only other question is this really a good investment? Is this really a smart idea? Spoiler, majority of the time, no, absolutely not a smart idea. Let me pull up one of those fun little calculators for the S&P 500. Where's that bookmark for that one? There we go. Got too many bookmarks. So that's rounding to $30,000 over the course of 35 years. So let's see here. Oh, minimize that pop-up. $30,000. Let's see here. Let's see here. The $30,000 over, how many years ago? Is that 35 years? Am I making, I think, 32 years. There you go. Let's see, 30, 50. Yeah, 32 years. Nope, still trash. Yeah, never invest in vehicle. I guess I should legally say for the Facebook and, or no, for the YouTube and the lawyers, not financial advice. However, if you put $30,000 into the S&P 500 index account, given the historical data, again, historical data is not, indicative of the future. You have to have the disclaimer. But if in that time, in, what year was that? In 1993, instead of spending $30,000 for an SUV, if you put $30,000 into the S&P 500, you would have had $726,281. So yes, it is still a stupid idea to buy cars and treat them as investments. That's why I tell people it's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. So even though this is really cool and it went for a lot of money, it's still, they lost out on $500,000. Because again, you have got $726,000 just doing nothing, just throwing in the S&P 500 index fund. This you have to actually worry about. Well, this actually the ROI is even better for the S&P article or argument, because that thing you have to store it, preserve it, presumably have insurance of some type on it, even if it's just catastrophic insurance, acts of God, or the garage burns down, you want to be covered. So yeah, even with all that, it's still a loser investment. Again, it's cool this this person made all this money off this SUV, but if they just put $30,000 back in the day in the S&P 500 index, we'll have had $726,281. The beauty of compound interest is a lovely thing. But yeah, fun fact. I was wondering, do they beat it? No. That's why, historically speaking, the only cars that beat the S&P 500 index, I believe, were the Ferrari GTO, which again is a huge outlier. It's worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars today, as well as, I believe, the Pontiac, hilariously enough, also GTO, the Pontiac Judge GTO as well. Again, it is so hard to beat that metric or that investment mechanism that is mutual funds. It is, that's why it's so rare for it to happen. But yeah, as cool as this SUV is, it still isn't. I mean, still done by the person who bought it. Now, they also say, quote, "This specific one is in great shape as you'd expect. It looks like it was driven from the dealership to hermetically sealed garage and only woke from its three-decade-long slumber for this morning. The only downside is that such originality in its old set of Firestone tires, which should be replaced if the new owner actually wants to drive it." Which, yeah, for safety reasons, you definitely want to switch out those tires. I mean, the interior looks immaculate. Ugh, automatic transmission. How boring is that? I'll never understand how some people will buy that. It is cool to see the old gauges. I'm a fan with actual needle, actual analog gauges, not the digital. It was cool to see the actual analog odometer. It's like, oh, blast from the past. There's a nice clean engine bay looking immaculate as you'd expect. So again, it's really cool. A lot of people are saying, oh yeah, the writer's saying, what would you buy if you had $226,000? You buy a condo in a new Civic Type R, which can't go wrong with the Civic. Those things are awesome. I'd love to get the new Civic R Type R one of these days. Though I still love my 2018 Civic Si. But yeah, a really cool thing to sell. But yeah, I guess I should reiterate for the umpteenth time, not financial advice. In this case, this owner still lost out. on it. They made $500,000 less, and they're lucky this thing sold because the market for low mileage collector cars is very, very niche, to say the least. But still, some pretty cool automotive news I thought I'd share today. And let me know, I mean, if you had this gem of a car and you got to sold it, so you got, well, don't forget the tax man's going to steal that, which is a higher rate than long-term capital gains tax, but I partially digress. Let's say you sold this and you still have about $195,000 after taxes. What would you use with that money? What kind of car would you get? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.